A few weeks ago, my wife Christine and I went paragliding in Annecy, France. It was my second flight, but for Christine, it was her first completed one, and that made this experience especially meaningful. You see, back in 2022, we were in Interlaken, Switzerland, preparing for a paragliding adventure when everything changed in an instant. Just before takeoff, Christine broke her ankle. What should have been the experience of a lifetime became a medical emergency in a foreign country. She underwent surgery in Switzerland and spent 5 nights in a hospital thousands of miles from home. Needless to say, it was very frightening. One moment, we were anticipating an incredible adventure. The next, we were dealing with chaos, uncertainty, and questions we never expected to face. Thankfully, Christine made a full recovery. Even more importantly, she didn't let that experience take away her sense of adventure. She was determined to try again. So when we stood on the mountainside in Annecy ready to launch, this flight meant much more than simply checking an item off a bucket list. A few minutes later, we were soaring hundreds of feet above Lake Annecy, suspended beneath brightly colored wings against a crystal clear blue sky. Below us stretched one of the most beautiful landscapes in all of Europe, the turquoise waters of the lake, charming French villages, and the majestic peaks of the French Alps surrounding us in every direction. As I floated through the air, I found myself thinking about life and estate planning. Not because the situation felt dangerous, but because of everything that had to go right before we ever left the ground. So why can't estate planning in Texas wait? Before we launched in Annecy, our instructor carefully inspected every piece of equipment. Harnesses were buckled, lines checked, wind conditions were evaluated, emergency procedures were reviewed. Nothing was rushed. Every detail was handled before our feet ever left the hillside. And that's exactly how a Texas estate planning attorney should approach your family's future. The work happens before something goes wrong. The preparation happens while you still have options. Most families delay estate planning because they assume they have time. They believe there will be a better moment later. But the right moment is not after a crisis. It's before one. Our experience in Switzerland taught us that life can change in seconds. The purpose of estate planning isn't to live in fear of that reality, it's to be prepared for it. Texas estate planning. What does paragliding reveal? Estate planning is a gear check before you perform takeoff. Skipping it carries the same risk as launching without inspecting your equipment. What happens if you skip the pre-flight? When a paraglider launches without checking equipment, small problems can become catastrophic ones very quickly. A line that's tangled on the ground may be an inconvenience. At 2,000 feet in the air, it can become a disaster. Families face similar risk when no estate plan exists. Without a valid will or trust, Texas law determines who receives your assets. The state's formula does not know your family dynamics, your values, or your wishes. Without a durable power of attorney, your loved ones may be unable to manage your finances if you become incapacitated. Without a medical power of attorney, important healthcare decisions may be left to others rather than the person you would have chosen. These are not hypothetical scenarios. They're the real-world consequences of launching without a plan. The gear that every Texas family needs. Experienced paragliders carry equipment designed for specific risks. A harness for the flight, a helmet for protection, a reserve chute for the unexpected, and a complete estate plan serves the same purposes. The will names your beneficiaries and, if necessary, guardians for your children. A revocable living trust helps avoid probate and efficiently transfers assets to your family. The durable power of attorney allows someone you trust to manage your finances if you cannot. A medical power of attorney empowers the person you choose to make healthcare decisions on your behalf. And a HIPAA authorization gives loved ones access to critical medical information when they need it most. Each document you see fulfills a different role. Leaving one out of place is like packing a reserve chute but forgetting to buckle your harness. Reading the weather, knowing when to update your plan. One lesson every paraglider learns is that conditions change. Pilots check the weather before the flight, during the hike to the launch, and again right before the takeoff. A plan that worked yesterday may not work today. Estate planning is no different. Marriage, divorce, children, business growth, inheritances, relocations, and the passing of loved ones can all change the effectiveness of your existing plan. The question isn't whether life will change. The question is whether your plan changes with it. A plan is a gift. As I looked across the Alps and the waters of Lake Annecy, I realized something important. The pilots who carefully inspect every strap, buckle, and line before launch are not acting out of fear. They're acting out of responsibility. Their preparation allows them to enjoy the experience with confidence. Estate planning works the same way. Creating a plan is one of the clearest ways to tell your family, I cared enough about you to prepare for the unexpected. Your family does not need a perfect plan, but they do need a plan that exists. At Scion Law Firm, we help Texas families create that plan. One conversation, one document, and one thoughtful decision at a time.